There is a particular kind of chaos that looks productive from the outside. Everyone is talking, ideas are flying around the room, there's energy. Someone says, we should definitely do that. Someone else says, that would be amazing. Another person says, let's circle back. Everyone leaves feeling like something happened. But then a week passes, nothing changes. There's no decision, no responsibility, no due date, no follow through, and no progress. Just another conversation that felt good in the moment, but did not move the business forward, the project, the household, or the team. And that is Mad Hatter energy. And let's be honest, we've all been there. The endless meeting, the group chat with 1,000 ideas and no actual plan, the creative brainstorm that becomes a distraction, the business owner who has 10 exciting ideas but can't complete the one thing that would actually make money, the team that talks around problems instead of deciding what happens next. Today we're talking about the Mad Hatter because creativity is powerful. Ideas matter, energy matters, enthusiasm matters, but creativity without containers becomes chaos, and chaos left unchecked becomes expensive.
It's grit and grace, side by side, fire in my chest, calm in my mind. I'll build what lasts, I'll choose my lane, turn pressure into purpose, paint it again. With grit and grace, I'm free to be all I am, becoming steadily.
Welcome to Grit and Grace, where we talk business mindset, well-being, leadership, and the standards that make success sustainable. I'm Donagh, and in this episode 5 of our Alice in Wonderland series. So far we've gone down the rabbit hole and talked about stabilising when life changes the map. We've met the white rabbit and looked at urgency culture. We've listened to the Cheshire Cat and asked whether we actually know where we're going. And last episode was the caterpillar and challenged us with identity, standards, and the question, who are you becoming? Today we've arrived at the tea party. The Mad Hatter, the March Hare, the Dormouse, the riddles, the circular conversations, the strange rules, the feeling that everyone is doing something, but nothing is really happening. And if you run a business, lead a team, manage a family, volunteer in a community group, or simply try to get things done with other humans, you will know this feeling. Today's episode is about turning creative energy into clear action. At the end, we'll give you a practical action and one reflection prompt. Let's get into it. Alice arrives at the Mad Hatter's tea party, and from the beginning, things are just a little bit strange. There are too many places and yet no proper welcome. There is conversation, but not much clarity. There are riddles without answers. There are rules, but they keep shifting. Time itself feels broken. Everyone is busy in their own way, but nothing feels grounded. And that is exactly why this scene works so well as a business metaphor. Because many businesses, teams, and even families get stuck in their own version of the tea party. There's a lot of noise, a lot of conversation, a lot of activity, but very little completion. People say things like, we need to talk about that, someone should fix that, we should do a campaign, we need a better system, we should follow up those clients, we should review our pricing, we should document that process, we should catch up properly. And the word should becomes the background music of a business that is avoiding decisions. The Mad Hatter reminds us that a lively conversation is not the same as leadership. Something that I often see is that ideas can be so exciting because they do not yet have consequences. An idea cannot fail while it is still an idea. An idea cannot be judged while it is still in discussion. An idea cannot expose a gap in your systems until someone tries to implement it. So sometimes without meaning to, we stay in idea mode because execution is where reality appears. Execution is asking us, do we have the time? Do we have the money? Do we have the capacity? Who's responsible? What is the deadline? What happens if this does not work? What are we not doing so we can do this properly? And that is why many people love brainstorming, but they actually resist committing. Because commitment creates accountability, and accountability is where the Mad Hatter's tea party starts to get really uncomfortable. This is true in business and in life. Planning the health routine can feel good. Doing the walk is different. Talking about improving cash flow can feel good. Following up overdue invoices is difficult and sometimes awkward. Discussing better boundaries can feel good. Saying, "No, I'm not available for that," is different. Dreaming about the next stage of business can feel so good, but documenting the first process, very different. Ideas give us the emotional hit of progress. Execution gives us the actual result, and we need both. But if you never leave the tea party, you never build the business. So what are the Mad Hatter's traits so we can recognize them? The first one is high energy, low completion. There is enthusiasm in abundance, but there is not enough finishing. And the business may have half-built systems, half-launched offers, half-written procedures, half-done marketing plans, and a pile of nearly there ideas. The issue is not a lack of creativity. The issue is a lack of completion discipline. The second trait is conversations without decisions, and this is where meetings become just that holding pattern. The same issue gets discussed again and again, whether it's staffing problems, pricing problems, customer complaints, workflow breakdowns, stock control, cash flow, marketing, but nobody clearly says, this is the decision, this is who owns it, and this is the deadline. The Mad Hatter's third trait is that he loves riddles instead of clarity. So in the story, the Mad Hatter asks riddles that do not really resolve. And in business, this looks like very vague communication. Oh, just do your best. Use common sense. We need to be better. Let's improve customer service. We need to be more proactive. And those phrases might sound reasonable, but they don't define the behaviour. People need clarity. What does better mean? What does proactive look like? By when? Measured how? Owned by who? The fourth trait is that time feels broken. And at the tea party, time behaves very strangely. In business, time feels broken when there is no rhythm. Everything is either last minute, late, rushed, forgotten, or constantly rescheduled. So a business without time containers will eventually run on panic. The fifth trait of the Mad Hatter is that everyone is present, but no one is leading. And this is the most important one because the Mad Hatter chaos often happens when no one takes responsibility for turning talk into action. A room full of capable people can still waste time if leadership is absent. Leadership is not the loudest voice. Leadership is the person who says, what are we deciding? Who owns this? When is it due? What are we not doing? How will we know it worked? It's not boring. This is how momentum is protected. Now, I need to be very clear about this. This episode is not anti-creativity. Creativity is essential. Business needs ideas. Communities need ideas. Families need imagination. Teams need space to think differently. And the problem is not creativity. The problem is creativity without containers. And a container is simply a structure that allows creative energy to become useful. So think about water. Water can nourish a garden. Water can power a turbine. Water can clean, cool, and restore. But without a container or a channel, water can also flood the house. And ideas are exactly the same. Uncontained ideas can flood the business with too many priorities, too many projects, too many directions pulling you in different directions all at the same time, too many changes all at once, or too many open loops. A good container does not kill creativity, it protects it. It says this is the space for ideas. This is when we decide. This is how we test it. This is what we measure. And this is when we stop. And that is where real innovation happens, not in endless discussion, but in focused experimentation. If there's one practical tool from this episode that can change the way a business or team operates, it's this. Every meeting must end with three things: a decision, an owner, and a due date. That's it. Not vibes, not great chat, not we should do this, not let's keep it in mind. Decision, owner, due date. So maybe it's your onboarding process. So the decision is we are updating our onboarding process. Who is responsible for it? Sarah. When is it due? The draft is due by Friday. This can go on for increasing the deposits in your jobs, no longer accepting urgent jobs. We are trialling a weekly stock review. Who's responsible? The retail supervisor. What's the due date? Every Thursday at 3 p.m. for the next 4 weeks. This rule is simple, but it is powerful because it forces clarity. And if there is no decision, then say that too. So the decision is we're not making any decision today. Who's going to look after it? Bill. What's the review date? Next Tuesday. That still creates movement. The issue is not that every conversation must solve everything. The issue is that every conversation must know what it is for. So the cost of not finishing, very expensive because unfinished things carry weight. Every unresolved issue becomes an open tab in your brain. The half-written procedure, the quote you need to send, the staff issue you need to address, the marketing idea you keep talking about it, the subscription you need to cancel and before you know it, there's no money left in your account, the pricing review you keep avoiding, the client boundary you need to clarify. Open loops are exhausting. They create a sense that you are never done because in a very real way you are not. And the emotional cost is significant. You may feel scattered, guilty, irritated, overwhelmed, or like you're constantly behind. But sometimes the solution is not doing more. Sometimes the solution is actually closing those loops. Finish, decide, cancel, delegate, schedule, archive. Completion is calming. And in business, completion creates trust. Your team trusts you more when decisions become action. Clients trust you more when communication becomes follow-through. You trust yourself more when you do what you said you would do. And self-trust is built through completion. If chaos happens once, it is a busy week. If chaos happens repeatedly, it becomes culture. And culture is not what you say you value. Culture is what repeats. So if meetings repeatedly end without decisions, that becomes the culture. If staff repeatedly wait for the owner to fix everything, that becomes the culture. If deadlines repeatedly move without consequences, well, that's the culture. If urgent repeatedly overrides important, that's the culture. If people repeatedly bring problems but not options, the culture. If the owner repeatedly has ideas but does not resource them properly, that's the culture. And this is not about shame. It is about noticing what has become normal for you. The Mad Hatter's Tea Party is funny because it's absurd. But in real life, absurd systems stop feeling absurd when everyone gets used to them. People adapt. That's what we do. They stop expecting clarity, they stop expecting decisions, and they stop expecting follow-through. And eventually, the best people leave the table. Not always physically, but sometimes they leave emotionally. They stop contributing, they stop caring, they stop bringing ideas because the ideas go nowhere. They stop raising issues because nothing changes. Leadership is the act of refusing to normalize chaos. So the question then becomes, how do we leave the tea party? So let's try a couple of resets. When a conversation starts circling, ask yourself 3 questions. What are we actually trying to solve? What is the next visible action? Who owns it? By when? These 3 questions can rescue a meeting in under 2 minutes. So what do we mean by them? What are we actually trying to solve? We're not trying to solve everything. We're not trying to solve every related issue. We are trying to solve the actual problem. So if the problem is in quoting delays, what is the actual problem that you are trying to solve? If you can't name the problem, you cannot solve it. We are trying to stop jobs going over budget. We are trying to improve cash flow. We are trying to reduce after hours messages. We are trying to decide whether this event is worth the time. What is the next visible action? Not the whole plan, the next action that someone can see. That could be creating a draft checklist, calling a supplier, writing a template, checking the numbers. Visible action turns conversation into progress. And the last one is who owns it by when. And this is where momentum is made. No owner means no accountability. No deadline means no urgency. And no follow-up means no learning. These 3 questions can rescue a meeting. That is how you turn Mad Hatter energy into leadership energy. So your single action this week, every meeting, discussion, planning session ends with 3 things: a decision, an owner, and a due date. If you don't have a team, still do it. At the end of your planning time, write down, what did I decide? What is the next action and when will it be done? Keep it simple, but do not let another useful conversation disappear into thin air. I promised you a reflection prompt. Where am I confusing brainstorming with progress? And if you want to go a bit deeper, what open loop is draining more energy than it deserves? The Mad Hatter reminds us that energy is not enough. Conversation is not enough. Ideas are not enough. Good intentions are not enough. Without containers, creativity becomes chaos, but with structure, creativity becomes momentum. So this week, don't shut down your ideas. Give them a container. Make the decision. Name the owner. Set the due date. And watch what starts to move. Until next time, keep your grit and protect your grace.
In the quiet, before the daylight breaks, I'm drawing lines for my own sake. I've carried more than I let on show, still found a way to learn and grow. With steady hands I set the pace, a fierce heart held in gentle space. I won't trade my peace for proof. I won't build a life without a roof. I'll rise, I'll rest, I'll recalibrate. Strong enough to do, wise enough to wait. It's grit and grace, side by side, fire in my chest, calm in my mind. I'll build what lasts, I'll choose my lane. Turn pressure into purpose, paint it again. With grit and grace, I'm free to be all I am, becoming steadily. I won't shrink back to make it easy. I won't stay small to keep things tidy. I'll speak the truth, I'll name my worth. Put roots down deep and do the work. And when it's heavy, I won't break. I'll bend with care, then reset my faith. I'll measure growth in more than gold, in quiet wins and courage bold. I'll lead with heart, I'll honor pace, ambition guided by restraint and grace. It's grit and grace, side by side, fire in my chest, calm in my mind. I'll build what lasts, I'll choose my lane. Turn pressure into purpose, paint it again. With grit and grace, I'm free to be all I am, becoming steadily. Let it be simple, let it be true. A steady rhythm pulling me through. When doubt is loud, I'll still begin. Again and again, I'll choose to win. Not by force, not by fear, by showing up year after year. It's grit and grace, side by side, fire in my chest, calm in my mind. I'll build what lasts, I'll choose my lane. Turn pressure into purpose, paint it again.